This video is sponsored by Sunny Dionysus Art.
This is your reminder that the BBC has yet to address the consistent transphobic leanings in its news coverage, and while the team behind Doctor Who is not connected to this in any way since this is a BBC-owned property, I'm going to keep pointing it out until the problem gets resolved. Links in a pinned comment below if you don't know what I'm talking about. I'll stop saying it when it stops being a problem.
Yes, I know it would have been more appropriate for me to use the blue light, which is the default on this model, but I only just figured out how to change the colors. Let me have my fun. There. You happy now? Before we get into it, I want to tell you about this episode's sponsor. Sunny Dionysus is an artist with a YouTube channel, a Twitter account, and a portfolio that you can peruse, see the art that he has put together, and commission him for work. He has a wonderful, unique style, is easy to work with, and is someone I'm proud to have as a sponsor on this video. I highly encourage you to peruse his social medias, see what he does, get a sense of his work, and if you're feeling like you want something a little bit special for a family member, a friend, or for yourself, consider commissioning some of his art. Thank you to Sunny for sponsoring this video, and now, Wild Blue Yonder, second of the Doctor Who specials, and the second to feature David Tennant as the 14th Doctor, Catherine Tate returning as Donna Noble, and Russell T. Davies at the helm of the show. Oh boy. Okay. Let me say this up front. This is the kind of thing that gets me genuinely excited for more Doctor Who. The previous episode, which I did like the Star Beast for the most part. I had nitpicks, but I have nitpicks about everything, including about this. We'll get there. But swimming in nostalgia is the best way I could describe the appeal of the previous one, of the Star Beast. This gets me excited for the things Doctor Who might do different. And this feels like a really good second entry, because that first one, yeah, swimming in nostalgia, brought back lots of good feelings, but also made me nervous that it was largely just going to feel like Russell T. Davies was trying to do what he did, 10 to 15 years ago. And I'm like, I want something that feels a little bolder than that. And so I get this. I'm like, okay, there. That's what I'm talking about. I like this a lot. There's great atmosphere, phenomenal performances, a terrific sense of isolation. I'm going to end up comparing this to the episode Midnight from Series 4 a fair bit, and I think that's a fair thing to do, given that both are written by Russell T. Davies. But overall, the impressions are very, very positive. I am going to have nitpicks. I will bring up some stuff. But let's get the most glaring problem out of the way. I hate this cold open. Oh, look, the Doctor and Donna run into a famous person thing that, I wish Doctor Who would stop doing. Granted, I appreciate that it wasn't the bulk of the episode. It was done as a joke, but even as a joke, just stop. I don't want any more of this, and it has nothing to do with anything else. I'd actually say it interrupts the sense of danger. Okay, you got on top of the fire in the TARDIS long enough to crack jokes about Isaac Newton and set up the idea that from now on, the show's going to call it Mavity instead of Gravity. That'll probably get amended next episode because we'll, correct timelines or something. But regardless, why is this here? It exists for no reason other than to have a cold open. You don't always need a cold open. Drop the cold open. Just start with the credits. That would have been fine. There's literally one thing I like about this, and that is Donna pointing out, do you just have this thing set to famous people, which normally that kind of lampshade hanging might annoy me because I'm like, yeah, I know I don't like that. And I know the show knows it's not great because they just made a joke out of it, except putting it in the mouth of a character like Donna and having Catherine Tate deliver it. Yeah, I actually did laugh at that, and that was fine. I also okay, I'm going to point this out just because I don't care, but it's going to annoy me regardless because it doesn't matter if I care. Isaac Newton, They cast somebody non-white. Fine. I super don't care. However, I know that that nonsense is going to be blaring at me in the online discourse of this frickin' thing. And no, I'm not going to talk about it because I don't care. I don't. So if you have strong feelings about this, go ahead and have them somewhere else. Please. Okay. Now I can actually talk about the episode proper. As I said, I like this pretty much right off the bat. I love just the sense of scale. Wonderful sense of isolation. And then you get up to the cockpit, still nothing. What are the words we're hearing? Why is the ship reconfiguring? And the sense of isolation, of loneliness. And like, it hammers that really well. See, now, like, I am somebody who by and large defends the use of the Sonic most of the time. There are some people who are like, it solves too many problems. Yet generally, as a rule, it solves problems that would be uninteresting to take the time to fix. That's why it's used on doors and as scanning so much. Because most of the time, it would not be interesting to watch the doctor pick a door lock, nor would it be particularly interesting to watch the doctor figure out, what this is. We just need the information to keep the story moving. Just have it and get it off the Sonic. I'm fine with that by and large. But this shows that sometimes, strip him of his tools. Take it away. And I don't think this is an argument for getting rid of the Sonic as a general thing, but it does show that, like, sometimes, having the Sonic would have hurt this story. Cool. So he doesn't have it. Not this time. Love that. Love that. But as I said, the sense of size, scale, the enormity of space is conveyed really well. The idea that they're not in some pocket dimension, they're not separate from the universe. They're at the edge of the universe, meaning they are so far away from where everything is. That's existentially terrifying. And we've seen companions like have these moments of, what if I can't get home again? Donna you really feel like she thinks she's not gonna get back. And she sells just the weight of that hitting her. She sells that really well. And then having the doctor show up and start talking to Donna, having Donna show up in the room and start talking to the doctor, and realizing, and as I said, my first instinct was like time dilation or just like funky editing. No, there's something else going on here. And just feeling that sink in, but also not just using it as a moment to be a bit creepy, which it is, effectively so, but also just using it as a moment to characterize both the doctor and Donna and contrast them. Because both of them do the same thing, but it illustrates how these things are different for them. Rose will come back every year. Sean will come back every day. And just lays that out. I mean, like, he has Donna, but in terms of, like, the permanence of a sense of family, what he has is the TARDIS. So they do the same thing. Her for her family, him just for the TARDIS. I love that contrast. Let's characterize and give you good moments with the Doctor and with Donna. So I'm going to pause another minute here. At this point, I am giving up on the idea that the 14th Doctor is going to be very distinguishable from the 10th. It's very clear they're not doing that. And yes, I have now at this point actually seen some bits from an interview or something of that nature where they both, David Tennant and Russell T Davies, kind of acknowledge that.
Will people notice any differences?
There wouldn't be any point in me coming back to then play it completely differently, I don't think.
No.
That'd be a little bit
Big disappointment.
We
peculiar,
like familiarity.
Okay.
Yeah.
While I will always, I think, consider it a missed opportunity that they didn't do something different, like have a lot of aspects of the 10th Doctor, but have it be more distinguishable, I'm always going to feel that's a missed opportunity. That being said, here's something I really appreciate about these specials. If you're not going to alter the characterization, then the least you could do is present stories in which they are actually going to benefit from leaning on the established characterization and the established dynamics between him and Donna. And the last episode already did it because it allows them to click back into place pretty much immediately. This one hinges heavily on that dynamic as they interact with each other and with the not things and have to figure out who is who and what is what. Yeah, actually, this is a story that couldn't necessarily be told at all if you were going to have the 14th Doctor be more distinctly different from the 10th. I mean, you could, but I think this is a story that functions better having him just slip back into that old persona a bit more. Well, maybe you did it just because you're like, that's how we're going to do it. But then you either had stories that you realized he'd benefit best by acting like the 10th Doctor, or you took the fact that he's basically just the 10th Doctor again and crafted stories that do the most with that. Either way, whatever order it happened in, good. Good. Because, like, I can accept sometimes creative decisions being made that aren't what I would prefer if something comes out of it. If something comes out of it that is a good story, a good character development, something that either couldn't be done if you didn't make that creative choice, I'd prefer you didn't, or it works better with that creative choice in place, I'm going to be more accepting, even if my personal preference would still be that you hadn't made that specific creative choice. Because at the very least, it wasn't for no reason. You benefited from it. You built something off that choice. Good. So that was good to see. Now, the point at which I kind of paused to talk about that was before I was going to have to start talking about, I think that the points at which the effects take over with the not things are some of the weakest points, both visually and in terms of the story, because the tension out of, I don't know what you're going to do, is gone. In addition to the fact that the CGI and the effects aren't great. The thing is, I'm not sure that these moments would work, for me at least, any better if the effects were seamless. I think they're too much. They're showing too much, and I think less would have been more. And this is where I'm going to start comparing it to Midnight. So Midnight was a Series 4 episode that was just the Doctor. Donna was in the episode technically in the beginning and at the end, but she wasn't present. It was just the Doctor on this tour bus with some other people dealing with this thing where no one knew what it was doing or why. And I've always just referred to it as the Midnight Entity. And we learn almost nothing about that thing. We see how it operates. We don't know what it's trying to accomplish. We don't know where it came from. We don't know what its goals are. We just know how it's operating. And it's a masterpiece.
Shamble, bobble, dibble, dooble.
This, I think, sort of demonstrates why giving us more information about something like the Midnight Entity would not make the story any better. Because I think, honestly, we learn a little more about these things and we see a little too much. Not completely. Like, they're still in that ballpark. But I can't help but make that comparison, and I kind of wish we saw a little less of their capabilities and knew a little less about them than we do. That is, admittedly, a bit of a nitpick. If Midnight as an episode did not exist, I probably would be less critical of this particular aspect. But that episode does exist, and it's written by the same person. And I do want to emphasize, I think the performances from both David Tennant and Catherine Tate in this are great, as both have. Like, I love that this is a two-hander. And I really loved it the first time when they got, not deliberately, but after they realized they were copies of each other and they got split up, first time they have to try and figure out, I love the completely different tones. They're both doing the same thing. They're both trying to suss out the other person that they're in the room with. But the tones are almost night and day. And that should conflict. But it doesn't. Because that's kind of the duality of not only these characters, but of these characters together. And to set up something like this, to explore and give us tastes of both sides of these characters and their dynamic at the same time in parallel scenes cutting between them? Ah! Mwah! Love it. And yes, this does give us confirmation. And this is basically about what I expected, because Russell T Davies had mentioned before that he has no intention of retconning the Timeless Child, and there was going to be a small acknowledgement of it. And that is here with the side of the scene that's between the actual Doctor and the copy of Donna. If you're new around here for any reason, one of my many problems with Flux is that it really did seem like a huge swath of the universe was destroyed in that story, and it wasn't restored. That in and of itself wasn't the problem, but nobody ever acknowledged it. That they lost half the universe. They just jaunt off on their next adventure. The Doctor didn't acknowledge it. Yaz didn't. Dan didn't. Nobody said anything. This is the dramatic and storytelling meat you could have pulled off of the bones of the idea of the flux and of the consequences of it, and you just didn't. That was ultimately my biggest frustration with Chibnall. Some of it was that I didn't like his ideas, but a lot of it was that he didn't even do much with the ideas he put out. With one scene, a couple of lines, one interaction between characters, Russell T Davies got more out of the fact that a huge swath of the universe is gone than Chibnall even attempted to do. That's impressive. As for the effectively acknowledging, and I'm not going to say canonizing, it was already canon, but the reaffirmation that yes, the Timeless Child is a thing and the Doctor doesn't know where he comes from. This is about what I expected, like an acknowledgement that that's the case and then moving on. That's about what I would want from somebody like Russell T Davies. I think, and I've said this repeatedly before, I think the Timeless Child should be handled the exact same way that the show has handled the fact that it was revealed the Doctor is half human in the TV movie from 1996. Leave it alone and don't talk about it. Did they talk about it here? Yeah. We did get some decent moments out of it, which I just praised a little bit. Well, more than a little bit. It went off on Chibnall a little bit too. Sorry, force of habit. But, you know, I don't think it's a massive damage to be like, yeah, the Doctor doesn't know where he comes from. And as far as whatever impact the Timeless Child thing is ever going to have on the Doctor, that's about the extent that I would want it to be. I'm okay with it weighing on the Doctor that he doesn't know where he originates from. I don't ever want to find out. I have no interest. I've said before, well, honestly, even within this thing, I've said demystifying things too much takes away some of their power. That is true of these monsters, which it doesn't happen too much, but it happens a little. And that is very true of the Doctor. The more we know about the specifics of his life outside of the adventures we've seen him in, not only do I not care, I actually find that stuff bafflingly and aggressively uninteresting. I don't care where he came from. But you can still get some dramatic weight out of the fact that it eats at him that he doesn't know. Okay. Like, I don't want him to know, but if you want to milk a little drama out of that, okay. I'm okay with that. I don't want the Timeless Child explored as a concept, but if you want to actually do something with its impact on the Doctor as a character, much like this scene does something with the impact of half the universe being gone, okay, if you want to do that, I can live with that. That's fine. Every scene from when the copies first show up, it's so good. It's so good watching them one-on-one with each other and like Donna expressing, well, copy Donna expressing that she knows, and later on we find out real Donna doesn't. And I buy that explanation given as to why the copy could actually remember and this Donna can't. I'm cool with that. I buy that explanation that this thing was some kind of weird alien cosmic entity that while it was copying Donna, it had its own brain that could fit that info. Donna can't. So like I'm cool with that, but like just getting those moments and like these little things that these not things haven't gotten a hold of yet. The fact that the Doctor one forgot that the tie needs to continue to exist. He didn't get object permanence yet because he hasn't had enough experience of life to get all the rules, whether it's that or like the arms are a little too long or whatever it might be. Just the little things like they're not quite getting yet just gives it that sense of unease again. And the scene again, you know, where it's all four of them and the Doctor points out, Donna can believe two things at once because these things, whatever they are, they don't get ambivalence yet. They don't get the complexities of having two conflicting thoughts in you at the same time, because that's incredibly human. And they don't know that yet. They don't get that. Not because they're incapable, but because they haven't had cause to learn that that's a thing yet. With the glass wall between them, these entities on one side, Doctor and Donna on the other, and then these things basically goad the Doctor into thinking because they bring up all the questions that he doesn't have answers to yet. These scenes, they're great and they're tense and they get the Doctor. They get Donna. It's not just putting them on display. It is examining them. It is pulling them apart for you and going, here's some of the inner workings. And that's a dangerous thing to do with characters because as a rule, often when you start to deconstruct things and start to show the inner workings too much, it can again be that demystification, or like they can stop working because you're like, oh, that's how everything operates. Okay, well, now I just know. But like to give us the insight into like the things they can't help. The fact that Donna, even though she knows she's brilliant sometimes, also can't help but think she's stupid. The fact that the Doctor, even though he knows it's literally going to empower the things trying to kill him, can't stop himself from trying to figure things out. That's nice because, again, that's a little bit of a callback to Midnight in that episode, the Doctor tried to talk his way out of a situation, but talking made it worse, but he couldn't stop himself. Here, thinking at a rapid speed, brain firing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, trying to sort everything out, it makes it worse, but he can't help it. Love it. And I like the answers as well. I like the idea that going slow, calm, it's harder for them to read. Like, why? I don't care. I buy it. So with that rule established, the robot starts to make sense. The countdown. Well, it gets revealed that it is a countdown, but that starts to make sense. The Doctor and Donna, well, they made the situation worse by showing up. The captain's plan was always going to work whether they showed up or not. So again, it just feels like a nice little acknowledgement of something that often would have been a throwaway, like, oh, there's a dead body. Like, no, let's get some acknowledgement. Like, we're never going to fully see this character, fully characterize them, but we can have a moment or two of appreciation. And I feel like this does that very well. It makes me care about a character we literally never see other than a floating corpse. But I do care a little bit. That's so good. And I love, trying to outwit them. But like, as the not thing Doctor points out, like, we're as clever as you now. Can you really stop us? And somehow, 2 specials in a row. Davies, part of me knows Donna's gonna survive. But last episode, I got genuinely nervous when the meta crisis filled her up again. She became the Dr. Donna, and they had the moment with the Doctor holding her, and I legitimately choked up. Here, I didn't choke up, but I was terrified. I felt my stomach drop. When the TARDIS shows up, first of all, I love the explanation that because the TARDIS is a time machine and it experiences time a little bit differently, it knows that the not thing Doctor won't succeed and the thing will blow up, so it can come back a little bit early. I like that. I dig it. Makes sense to me. So, but when the Doctor takes the wrong one, which, first of all, so few shows would have the cojones to do that. Like, generally the point of a scene like that is to show the connection, show the special thing that only they have that this thing couldn't replicate. In the moment, it fooled him. I should have known, like, I'm sure somewhere in the back of my head, I did know she's going to be okay, but dang it, Davies, 2 episodes in a row. You got me on the edge of my seat thinking Donna was going to die, or at least emotionally being invested as if she was going to, even if part of me knew she wouldn't. You got me again, you. So, this is just great. I love this. I have my nitpicks. Cold open sucks. It flatly sucks. I don't like it at all. And I think that they did too many of the special effects. I think if they had dialed that back, done fewer of them, had them be subtler, I think that would have benefited it more, even more so than it would have if they just flat out looked better. But the sense of isolation, the sense of tension, the dynamic between these characters. This is really good. And of course we get to see Wilf.
Hey there, folks. It's me during the editing phase. I went on for a little bit about not being sure whether or not Wilf would be seen in the next episode. It's since been confirmed by Russell T Davies that he will not be. So I'm going to jump ahead a bit. I know I'll still be talking in the video as if I don't know, but just be aware that's been confirmed.
I've seen some things that suggest that this scene was all they got shot. And if that's true, and the next episode opens with a small time jump and Donna like thanking the doctor for dropping Wilf off somewhere safe before they try and solve this or whatever, some line to cover that. If this is all we get, God, it choked me up. Joy and relief from him at seeing the doctor and seeing Donna. Oh, damn it. Yep. I don't have predictions for the next episode. I don't really do them by and large. I kind of made a small one, which is that I think timelines are in some way are going to be rectified, amended, or in some way healed to cover things for I don't expect the show to say Mavity for the entirety of the rest of however long it runs.
And it's now occurred to me that if history being changed so that gravity is called Mavity and that gets addressed and somehow becomes a plot point, I probably still wouldn't like it regardless, but I'd probably dislike it less if it wasn't the cold open. Just move it.
But I don't really do predictions. My brain doesn't work that way. I'm really bad for speculation. I can't think, maybe it's this, because part of my brain goes, quit speculating and just watch it in a week. Find out what it is. Then see what you think. A couple of other tiny random things before I close out. I love the interaction between the doctor and Donna. Like the when in a million years, that's cute, but it's the, are you okay? I will be. That's beautiful because sometimes that's the truth. Are you okay? No, but I will be. I'm gonna be okay, but right now, no. No, I'm not. And I love that as an answer. I love the simplicity of it, and I love the sentiment that it conveys. Isaac Newton somewhat famously seemed to be sex repulsed. It's a little bit of an extrapolation on my part to make the claim that I think Isaac Newton was asexual. I do actually think he was, but even if we don't know that for certainty, we know from letters and correspondence that he made that he detested the thought of being sexually involved with women. So the idea that this scene kicks off with Donna basically sexualizing a guy that we know detested the idea of sexual intimacy with women. I know he's dead. He's not going to be offended. I get it. It's just, I don't know. It made the moment weird for me. It might not have if I hadn't done a video earlier this year talking about figures from history that you didn't know were probably some form of queer as far as the evidence for that he didn't like women. Well, he once accused his friend John Locke of having, quote, endeavored to embroil me with women. Go back and check out that video. Isaac Newton was not the only one on there, but I brought him up because I'm pretty sure he was asexual, which is part of the queer community. So I guess because that stuff was in my mind, because I looked into it, researched it for that video, it made the moment land weird for me. Probably nobody else's problem but mine, except pointing it out, it might have made it some other people's problem. Sorry if that was a moment you liked and I've now ruined it for you. I don't mean to do that. It just happens sometimes. For the most part, though, again, I cannot emphasize enough. This is really good. This is the kind of stuff that I love when Doctor Who does, when it goes something weirder, when it strips it down. Okay, hold up. We don't need massive cast. We don't need an invading alien force. Seemingly empty ship. 2 people, no tools. Go. This is the creative spirit that gave us episodes like Midnight, but also things like Blink and Heaven Sent and episodes that I dearly love. And this doesn't feel like it's trying to directly be any of those. It's being its own thing, but it's in that vein. It's in that form of okay, let's do something different this time. And I love this, especially paired with the previous episode, because it's yeah, we can still do the fun stuff you remember. We can also do something else. Good. Please do both. That's what I want. I won't lie. Nostalgia can still hit me. Overall, I always want the show to be moving forward in some way, shape, or form. But I don't mind the occasional hit of nostalgia as long as you're also going to give me something different, which this is, and it's real, really good. Wild Blue Yonder. What did you think about this one? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills. That enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out that way, like, share, subscribe. They all help me out. Be sure to check out Sonny's work. Reminder links down in the description for that as well. And thanks again for sponsoring this video. But what I really want you to remember is that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council. I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. Time to thank some patrons, and this time I'm going to say their names as if I'm greeting them, welcoming them to a party. Robin Moore, Zuman Lafula, Goddess Elida, Turok, the thing that goes doink in the anime, Ruth, Gozer the Gozerian, Oliver B., Solitary Pictures, Ulrich Bogdan, Melinda Walters, Jen, Auntie Kate 808, Becky Sparks, Fernabia Likes the Poodle, Robin Powell, T Love, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Dave Hall, Rosalind Bennett. Have fun tonight, and thank you for your support. I don't know why I decided to do that this time, but I don't know. I'm having fun.